rounds 5 and 6 of the 2017 LMP3 Cup Championship from Spa in Belgium, a place steeped in motorsport history, a circuit that was first designed in the 1920s with a triangular road course that linked the towns of Francorchamps, Malmedy and Stavelot, and first went on to hold Grand Prix racing as far back as 1925. The original 9-mile circuit now gone. Its current format sees a 4.3-mile circuit, and that, of course, will be the highlight race of the season, I'm sure, for the drivers and many of the teams in the LMP3 Cup, as they could really let loose with their 420 brake horsepower Nissan engines around this infamous circuit. The entry list for the weekend then: CJ Wilson and Andrew Evans partnered again at the wheel of the number 2 United Autosports car, and the sister car, Tony Wells and Matt Bell, will be hoping for good things here in Belgium. Jason Rishover and Jamie Spence in the Nielsen Racing car, Richard Dean and Sarah Moore return with the Tockworth prepared car, Paul Bailey and Andy Schultz, Mike Newbold and Tom Randall, Alistair McCaig and Colin Noble, the wheel of the Francorchamps number 79 car. They'll be ones to watch out for. They lead the championship this weekend, and number 96 Scott Mansell joins Jack Butel.
Alright, I'm CJ Wilson from United Autosports, and here is a qualifying lap around Spa. Braking for the source is really easy to get overly ambitious because there's a little bowl there, but I'm not braking deep enough, so I can use a little bit more brake pressure. You're flat from the exit of the source all the way through here, pulling 6th, right before a rouge, and then this corner right here, you feel the car bottom out over the top of Radillon. You get a lot of float in the car, and the car does not spool up the revs as fast up the Kemmel straight because it's actually very uphill, which allows you to brake incredibly deep into this next set of corners. So you're braking at the curb, shifting down to 3rd, trying to use all the curb on the right, a little bit of curb on the left, and not let it track out too far. You only lift right there, there's no brake, it's just a little lift, almost not even out of the gas, but just a 50%. Pull 4th, then you're down to 2nd here for Brussels. Great overtaking spot, especially when we're out there with the GT cars. They just don't have the grip to brake downhill right there. You fight a little bit of understeer through here just because it's downhill again, but then you can really just get on the power hard. You want to use all the curb right there that you can, and brake as deep as you can, and if you want just a little bit of brake, 5th gear, rolling the speed, feeding the throttle back in, full throttle right about there, and then you're picking up occasional GT traffic like here. So I'm trying to size them up, thinking, where can I get by him? So as I set him up through this chicane, I actually stay really far wide to the right so I can tuck in to the left. And as I tuck in, I stay on the power just a little bit longer so I can brake a little bit deeper, and then it doesn't cost me as much speed. You really need a good run out of Stavelot 2 here because you're going flat all the way from here to the bus stop. And occasionally you'll get held up there in between Stavelot 1 and 2, and it just completely nukes your lap. You could lose a second or 2 seconds almost. Flat through here, pulling 6th gear, incredible amounts of downforce. This is where the car, as I would say, is really fun, just because you're just holding on, just, feels great, and then trying to brake really deep after the bump, down to 1st again for the hairpin or the bus stop. Good run out of there, missed the apex a little bit, so I couldn't get the power totally. Notice there's a Lambo over there, there's a red flag, but I tried to run all the way to the light. That was the cleanest lap I had in qualifying, so sadly that would put me 7th.
Let's look at the grid for the first race of the weekend, and it's the Francorchamps number 79 car that will be started by Alistair McCaig that starts on pole position. That car leads the championship standings coming into this weekend, and alongside car number 96, Jack Butel, sharing this weekend with Scott Mansell, who starts the race. Row 2 of the grid is number 3, that will be started by Tony Wells, and alongside is number 28, which in this race will be started by Andy Schultz. And row 3 of the grid is number 26, Richard Dean, alongside is number 23, Jason Rishover. On his own on the 4th row of the grid, it's the number 2 car of CJ Wilson. So the pace car is bringing them up towards the chicane. Neat 2x2 order for this rolling start to get things underway here at Spa in Belgium. The pace car is about to feel its way in towards the pit lane area, and therefore it is Alistair McCaig and Scott Mansell who will line up side by side as they head up towards the red lights, which are on now. Red lights on. We are about to get racing underway here at Spa-Francorchamps. The lights go out and we're away as the cars charge their way up towards their source hairpin for the first time, and it looked as though Alistair McCaig had just got his nose ahead in towards the daunting Eau Rouge corner, so through Eau Rouge up towards Radion, but it is going to be Alistair McCaig that leads the pack of LMP3 cars up towards Les Combes for the first time, with Tony Wells sitting right with him in second position. Field of cars working their way through, but already there's an incident by the look of things. That is the Porsche of Mike Sellers that's come together with the number 58 McLaren, and I suspect that is going to bring about the safety car. So through what is Fagna come the pack of cars. Alistair McCaig looking to try build an advantage. The last thing he wants is a safety car, but unfortunately that's exactly what has occurred. So safety car bunches them all up whilst the incident is being sorted out on track. So Alistair McCaig can't make good his escape, at least not just as yet at Spa. So the field of cars all now safely behind the safety car allows our marshals to clear up the incident. Fell the Porsche and the McLaren, weaving from side to side Alistair McCaig to try and maintain a little bit of temperature in the controlled Pirelli slick tyres that all of the cars utilise in the Henderson Assurance LMP3 Cup. So Alistair McCaig leads, Tony Wells second, Richard Dean third. There will be Paul Bailey in the HPR GCAT Racing Prepared car that sits there in fourth place, and it will be Jason Rishover in fifth place. But lights are out on the safety car. We're about to get the race back underway here at Spa-Francorchamps. So through the chicane goes our race leader. No overtaking until they get to the start-finish line, as Alistair McCaig gets the race back underway and heads through La Source downhill towards Eau Rouge. So it's the Ecuria Cost Nielsen prepared car that leads. United Autosport in second place, the Tockworth Motorsport car in third, HPR Racing there in fourth place, and the second of the two Nielsen racing cars in the hands of Jason Rishover is there in fifth place. Out of Radion onto the Kemmel Straight, up towards the braking area for Les Combes. At the top of the circuit they'll come. The order still remains the same, and it looks as though the orange Porsche of Richard Chamberlain has now managed to leapfrog ahead of Jason Rishover for what was fifth overall in the race. But of course Jason Rishover will still hang on to fifth in the LMP3 section of this race. So the field of cars working their way through Les Combes and then out towards Rivage, as in towards the chicane comes our race leader, Alistair McCaig, leading from Tony Wells. Tony Wells will head straight after Spa over to Le Mans to race in the Road to Le Mans Cup for LMP3 cars just next weekend. Down towards Eau Rouge goes our race leader, being hounded by Tony Wells there. And everybody safely through what is a daunting corner, Eau Rouge. The television pictures really don't give you the impression of just how steep Eau Rouge is. So safely through Eau Rouge, then in towards what is Fagna, part the way round the lap here on the 4.3 mile circuit. Looks as though the fight for third and fourth is closing up a bit there. Richard Dean in the red and white car being put under an ever-increasing amount of pressure from Andy Schultz. Alistair McCaig, though, looking good to try and build an advantage, if at all, he can, between himself and Tony Wells. Here is that fight for third and fourth place. Yeah, Richard Dean very much under pressure from the car of Andy Schultz, and it also looks as though Scott Mansell now has picked the pocket of Jason Rishover. So Scott Mansell up into what is fifth place, Jason Rishover down into sixth position, as again through Eau Rouge go these LMP3 cars. The aerodynamics on these cars are so effective that they can take the corner absolutely flat out, and that's exactly what the front runners are doing. That's exactly what Alistair McCaig is doing, because he's pulling away all of the time from Tony Wells. We're side by side for third and fourth place. Andy Schultz having a look up the inside of Richard Dean, couldn't quite squeeze his way through, but Richard Dean runs wide through Les Combes and has to take to the runoff circuit. That will drop him back behind Andy Schultz. So Andy, the actual attempt to overtake didn't work, but Richard Dean running wide allowed him to move through. There he goes, through Fagna in third place. Down to fourth goes Richard Dean, and he's now under pressure from Scott Mansell, the 2004 Euroboss champion, the 2015 Radical Enduro champion, hounding Richard Dean, who has got huge amounts of experience of racing single-seaters and sports cars over the years, both in Europe and over in Japan as well. So the leading pair go through. Car number 1 to 8, Andy Schultz, goes through in third place. Here's now the fourth and fifth place battle with Jason Rishover not too far away either, is he, in sixth place, with the second of the two Nielsen Racing prepared cars, whilst the sister car leads overall in the hands of Alistair McCaig. Safely through Fagna on another lap. Third place car of Andy Schultz pulling away from the fourth place car, but not really making inroads into the leading pair at this stage. So everybody still out there and circulating, albeit did we see Jason Rishover come through there? There was a gap, and then I would have expected Jason Rishover to come through. Here he comes. So yeah, just falling away is Jason Rishover at this stage. More yellow flags out on circuit on the approach to the chicane, would tend to suggest there's problems. No overtaking through that part of the circuit, as our race leader still continues to push on. Alistair McKay looking to try and make good his escape, and at the moment he's doing exactly that. Still quite close for third and fourth though. Andy Schultz cannot as yet shake away the car of Scott Mansell. Safety car is back out by the look of things, so that's further frustration for Alistair McKay, who is going to see that advantage that he's built up all evaporating again. So that means that with the safety car out there, they have to stick behind the safety car, which allows Tony Wells to close up in second place. It will allow the third place car of Andy Schultz to close up. The black and red car, which is Scott Mansell in fourth place, will get to close up, as will the fifth place car, the red and white car in the hands of Richard Dean. What it really does help though is Jason Rishover, who at the wheel of his car had fallen away. Here he comes now, just only into shots. That is really going to hand him a bit of a lifeline, having lost time a few laps ago. It's going to allow him to get right on the back of the pack, which are weaving from side to side on the Kemmel Straight, try and maintain temperatures in the tyres. They'll also be on and off the brakes to allow that heat to radiate out through the brake discs into the wheel rims and keep that tyre temperature at the optimum levels as far as the drivers are concerned, at least optimum levels, whilst to remain under safety car. The safety car lights are still on as it heads into the chicane, so there is no restart of the race just as yet. So safely through the chicane goes our race leader, Tony Wells, but Andy Schultz heads for the pit lane, as does Richard Dean. It's a bit early, I would have thought, for pit stops, but join us for more after the break. Back to Spa for round 5 of the 2017 Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup, where at the moment we are under safety car conditions because out on track, that car there, Richard Chamberlain's orange Porsche, has retired. Richard running in the GT Cup Championship, which shares the grid with LMP3 Cup this weekend. Now, safety car is out there, pit window is open, therefore now would be a good opportunity for all of the cars to come in and conduct their mandatory pit stop. And bang on cue, that looks as though that's what all of them are doing. There were a couple of exceptions to that though. The lap prior, Richard Dean came in and handed over the top of the motorsport car to Sarah Moore, and also Andy Schultz came in and handed over the Horsepower Racing GCAT car to Paul Bailey. Now, because they've done that lap a little bit earlier and they weren't bottomed up behind the safety car for an extra lap, it does now mean that Paul Bailey is now leading the race overall here at Spa, and it's going to be Sarah Moore that's in second. Tom Baker's in the pit lane though, catching up with some of the drivers.
Yeah, I had a good stint at the start, managed to pull out a good lead. There was unfortunately a couple of safety car incidents which closed the pack up, pulled another good lead, and then the second safety car closed the back up. But yeah, no, the car's going great, the team had done a good job. Unfortunately, Colin had a small spin on his outlap, which has set us back. I think we're fourth at the moment. He's just set fastest lap of the race. We've got 15 minutes to go, so it's going to be close because the safety car's back out again and close the pack up. So it's going to be another big fight with United Autosports and Sarah Moore and all these guys, so and girls. Yeah, so it'll be a close one to the finish, I think.
It was pretty hectic, to be honest. Off the start, we started P2. Off the start, I got hit quite heavily going into the source. Someone came from quite a long way back. Luckily, it went wheel to wheel. Did bend the car a little bit, so our ultimate pace wasn't there. But we're running P3 now with Jack in the car, and I think he's making the most out of it.
Always good to hear from some of the drivers down in the pit lane. Of course, they've vacated the cars. Their co-drivers have now taken over, but they've taken over still under safety car conditions, so they've not been able to get racing as yet. So they're still trying to weave from side to side. That's car number 102, vacated by CJ Wilson, now in the hands of fellow American Andrew Evans. But yellow flags are being replaced by green flags by the look of things. We're about to get the race back underway here at Spa, and with the GT Cup competitors now mixed up amongst the LMP Cup. There's work to be done to get to the LMP3 section of the race back underway. We'll be leading from the car of Sarah Moore, which is car 126. Let's look how busy it is as cars swing their way out of the chicane up towards the start finish line. Green flags are being waved. The green lights are on the start gantry as well. They thread their way through the source and down towards Eau Rouge. Paul Bailey leads. Sarah Moore there in second place. And of the LMP3 Cup competitors, who's there in third? It is Colin Noble that's there in third place. Matt Bell is right behind him, though. They've also got Chris Murphy's Aston Martin they're trying to thread their way through and pass, and that could be the catalyst for change there as far as Matt Bell is concerned. Couldn't quite see on the Camel Straight whether he was able to squeeze his way through and take third place away from Colin Noble. As we look towards, no, they're side by side up towards Les Combes. They're still side by side as Colin Noble has to take to the grass, and then is there a little bit of contact either way? There's a spin for Colin Noble, and that is going to put the Francorchamps car right the way down towards the bottom of the order in the LMP3 Cup competitors. He's on the grass, there's no damage done by the look of things. Maybe the car was unsettled over the curbs, maybe there was a slight touch, I'm not entirely sure, but certainly for Colin Noble, huge amounts of time lost there. Sarah Moore leads the race now. She's managed to squeeze her way through and ahead of Paul Bailey. So Sarah Moore leads. Paul Bailey is there in second position, just heading through shots now at the wheel of the black car with its yellow air intake. That is the GCAT racing car, kind of 128. You can see already, looks as though Paul Bailey is going to lose a further place. Yeah, another place lost there. The charging Matt Bell is now up into second. Paul Bailey down into third position, so already having lost a couple of places. Now we'll see what kind of a 103 Matt Bell might be able to do about trying to close up on Sarah Moore. There goes the red and white car of Sarah Moore through shot. There's Matt Bell in second place, and looking down the Kemmel Straight, it's Paul Bailey who's there in third position, or is it? No, that looks as though it's Jack Butel who's now up into third, and Paul Bailey has dropped down into fourth position. Fifth is going to be then the recovering Colin Noble, who's got a chunk of work to do here as they thread their way through the GT Cup competitors as well. Yellow flags, and is this another safety car? It is another safety car board coming out. So this is going to bunch the field back up again. It's been one of those strange races where nobody really has been able to settle into a rhythm, and just as cars start to build up an advantage, it all gets evaporated away once more. One person it does help is Colin Noble, because he, of course, lost time with that spin up at Les Combes, which is where the cars are heading up to now behind the safety car, so it allows him to catch the pack of cars that he lost a little bit of ground to, and should put him in a strong position for the final part of the race. Lights out on the safety car, brief safety car period. We're about to get things back underway once more. Sarah Moore still continuing to lead the race. Matt Bell in second position. It's Jack Butel in third place. Fourth is Paul Bailey, and fifth is the charging Colin Noble by the look of things. So we get the race back underway. The red and white car continuing to lead. It's driven by Richard Dean in the early part of the race. Sarah Moore behind the wheel now, the former Ginetta Junior champion, working tirelessly hard to try and hang on to the overall lead of this race, but Matt Bell is coming because he's been able to squeeze his way through and into the lead of the race. So Matt Bell now leads the race. Sarah Moore dropping down into second place. This is the battle for third. It is now, by the look of things, Colin Noble who's up into third place, and Jack Butel at the wheel of the black and red Speedworks car has fallen down into fourth position. So new race leader, Matt Bell looking to try and pull an advantage if he can. There's another spin for Colin Noble. That's a couple of spins he's had. Nigel Hudson's Aston Martin has to take to the run-off tarmac in avoidance of the rotating Ligier. Colin Noble, more places lost again, more time lost, more work to do for the rest of the race. This is, of course, the car that leads the championship. We've not seen any mistakes, I don't think, at all from Colin Noble throughout the course of this season. Well, that's now a couple of spins that he's had. One of them, you could argue, was just one of those things. That one, I'm not entirely sure what happened, but either way, he's left himself a chunk of work to do again in this one. Matt Bell continuing to lead the race, no doubt being cheered on by reigning radical European champion Tony Wells from the pit wall here at Spa, safely through Eau Rouge yet again. And here is another great little battle. Three cars have got themselves together. Andrew Evans fighting away with the recovering Colin Noble, who's able to squeeze his way through and pass, and then has the upper hand. So Colin Noble, more places gained from him. He's got a couple of spins, he's still got pace, he's still picking off people, as this car here, now with a very sizable lead, heads up towards Les Combes. The whole length of the Kemmel Straight is the advantage that Matt Bell has built up. Further down through the order, that is Jack Butel looking to try and mount a challenge to gain a place. As here we go, through shot has now got Sarah Moore in second place. And this is going to be third, fourth and fifth all coming up the Kemmel Straight together. It is going to be, by the look of things, Colin Noble, who's now up into third position, is that, in the LMP section of the race. So a great recovery drive for Colin Noble, despite the difficulties that have befallen him. He has risen his way up through the order. Through shot there goes Matt Bell. Now let's just have a quick look through Fania as to what the gap is between himself and Sarah Moore. Well, Sarah hasn't appeared in shot just as yet, so it's a handsome advantage that Matt Bell has built up between himself and this car here, Sarah Moore, who is second on the road, but we're hearing that car did pit outside of the pit stop window and has, or will be, handed a penalty at the end of the race. So Sarah Moore second on the road, but by time penalties applied, it's going to mean this car here, Colin Noble, is in second, and these two cars here are battling for third. That is Andrew Evans, the second of the two United Autosports cars, fighting away with Jack Butel. For Matt Bell, though, it looks as though they are on course for a victory. So through the bus stop chicane for the final time, the checkered flag is being ready, and it's a win for Matt Bell and Tony Wells in the first race of the weekend here at Spa-Francorchamps. Sarah Moore and Richard Dean, all of that hard work has come unravelled. They will get a time penalty applied after the race, so the car will take the checkered flag in second position, but will end up being demoted down through the order, and it now means that it is going to be the car of Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig that finish third on the road, but will be moved up to second overall. And this is the battle for the final podium place. Jack Butel up the inside of Andrew Evans at the chicane at the final corner. He comes through and will take the final step on the podium.
After I was whinging on yesterday about a lacklustre qualifying, I felt like I was properly on it. The car was good. Got a good reaction to the lights, stripped it down the middle of them into La Source, and came out second. Probably had desires on the leader before the safety car, and then car took a lap extra to come in after the safety car, but then properly came in, felt alive. We got quickest lap, and then another safety car, and then so it was all about getting the safety car the pit window right and getting in the right position to come in and not lose too many positions on the road.
It was really tricky because although I'm used to it, I don't think some of the other guys are. So negotiating the traffic was really quite difficult. You just had to give that extra little bit of leeway and caution in some areas to negotiate the way through it. It certainly added an exciting element to it. That's for sure.
Yeah, relatively happy. Had a good first stint. Managed to pull out a bit of a gap, but unfortunately we got two safety cars, which made it quite a scrappy race. Handed over to Colin halfway through under the safety car, so he took it from there.
Colin, it's a big sprint. It's obviously added an extra element for this race here at Spa, but tell us the story of the second half of the race.
Yeah, it certainly didn't help me out at the restart. I got caught in behind a couple of slow GT4s going up a route, so I got Aspen in there, and I was just a bit, rear tyre was still a bit cold, and I just spun going into the turn first chicane, which just lost its ground, but managed to recover it back to third. So yeah, it's not the worst result.
Well, yeah, it's the first race for Jack and I together along with the Speedworks team. The start of the race wasn't that great for me. I got hit into La Source at the first corner and we dropped down to the back of the LMP3 field. However, I managed to make my way back through the field somewhat and then handed the car over to Jack, who did a fantastic job, and we ended up P3.
No, it went well. Unfortunately we had another safety car when I was out, but no, which bunched the grid up a lot. But no, it was good. We ended up getting a third out of it, which I think was brilliant for our first time at Spa.
Let's have a look at the result then. It's a win for Tony Wells and Matt Bell, and promoted up to second were Alistair McCaig and Colin Noble, and taking the final spot on the podium, Scott Mansell and Jack Butel. CJ Wilson and Andrew Evans were in fourth place, and that penalty sees Richard Dean and Sarah Moore drop down into fifth place. Paul Bailey and Andy Schultz complete the top six. Join us for more after the break. Let's have a look at the grid for the second race of the weekend. Then the number 3 United Autosports car, shared by Matt Bell and Tony Wells. Yesterday's race winner sits on pole position. Tony Wells behind the wheel for part 1. And alongside is the number 79 Acura car, started by Alistair McCaig. That car leads the championship. Row 2 of the grid is number 28, which is Paul Bailey. And alongside, it was a frustrating day yesterday for number 26, Sarah Moore and Richard Dean. Richard Dean starts. And the final row of the grid, number 96, Scott Mansell, lines up alongside number 2, the American baseball player, CJ Wilson. Lights go out at Spa, we're away and racing. It's a good start from Tony Wells from pole position. Alistair McCaig trying to go with him. Richard Dean looking to try and squeeze his way up the inside if he can. Lock brakes. Has he made it through? Yes, he has. The Top Cut Motorsport car is through and ahead of Alistair McCaig. So it's Tony Wells that leads as they head down through Eau Rouge for the first time and then start to head out of Rivage onto the Camel Straight and up the long straight that brings them up towards Les Combes for the first time. Tony Wells leading the race. Alistair McCaig jinks out to have a quick look at the inside of Richard Dean, but isn't close enough as they head in towards Les Combes. So through Rivage, through Malmedy, round through Pouhon, and then they should reappear at Fagnes. Here they come, through the right and then the left flick at Fagnes. The race leader, Tony Wells, just getting away a shade from this trio fighting over what is second, third and fourth place. Alistair McCaig is the meat in the sandwich. Ahead of him is Richard Dean, and right behind him by the look of things, that is Scott Mansell, former Euroboss champion, former Radical Enduro champion, who's sharing the car with Jack Butel over the course of this weekend. So onto the brakes, up towards the conclusion of the first lap. Through La Source hairpin they'll go, and start to work their way back down towards the daunting Eau Rouge, which in these cars with huge aerodynamic grip, it's amazing just how quick the LMP3 cars can change direction as they flick their way left and then right, and then turn left again as they head up through Rivage and onto the Camel Straight once more, with Tony Wells looking to try and build on this slender advantage that he's got. Alistair McCaig again having a look for second place, again isn't quite close enough to Richard Dean. So the LMP3 cars now heading round through Fagnes once more. You can see that Richard Dean really is the cork in the bottle here. Alistair McCaig, I suspect, is quicker, but he just can't wiggle his way through at the moment. Richard Dean using all of that experience to hang on to second place, whilst this car still leads. So through the chicane that completes the lap, here comes Richard Dean, car number 126 in second position. And as they then fan out as they come over the start-finish line towards the braking area for La Source, race leader all of the time just getting away, whilst the Courier Cos car in the hands of Alistair McCaig, the championship leader, is still bottled up behind Richard Dean in the Topworth car. Start to plummet downhill again through Eau Rouge corner. You can see the advantage that Tony Wells has been able to build up now, looking to try and make it a clean sweep of victories here. Good result for them yesterday, saw them on the top step of the podium, but it is Tony Wells that still leads the race. And now Alistair McCaig is able to squeeze his way through into second place. Up the inside of Richard Dean he goes. So place gained for Alistair McCaig, place lost for Richard Dean, and already you can see, the Acura car starting to pull away now. It was quicker than Richard Dean, and now he's picked his pocket, he's able to pull away, and that is exactly what Scott Mansell is looking to try and do now. So onto the brakes, battle for second and third, still very much together as they turn their way through La Source hairpin. Up to second and already making good his escape is Alistair McCaig, leaving these two to slug it out still for third and fourth place. It is still Richard Dean in third and making his debut in the LMP3 Cup Championship. Scott Mansell there in fourth place, but he's hugely keen right on the coattails of Richard Dean as they head through Fagnes, but he's already through by the time they get to the chicane at the end of the lap. So Scott Mansell now up into third place, down to fourth for Richard Dean. And having lost a couple of places, that is probably going to be the last of the places he will lose, because he's got plenty of daylight between himself and CJ Wilson, the American driver, who's there in fifth place, and Paul Bailey in the horsepower racing car is currently sixth in this particular race. Well, Alistair McCaig, you can see on the very edge of Adhesion through the chicane, has really reeled in Tony Wells for the lead of the race, and this is this fight I was talking about for fifth and sixth position. CJ Wilson going superbly well this weekend at Spa. Paul Bailey in the horsepower racing machine, the black car with its yellow flashes not that far away. They've had a good race-long battle so far and are still pretty much inseparable as they head through Les Combes. Here, through Fagnes, is the battle for the lead of the race once more. Tony Wells still under pressure from Alistair McCaig. You can see them at relative daylight that they've got between themselves and this car now, which is Scott Mansell, who is up into third position. So the leading pair have got quite a nice buffer between themselves and Scott Mansell, and equally as much Scott Mansell now has built a very good advantage between himself and Richard Dean, who is losing pace all of the time. So in towards the chicane they come, threading their way through the GT Cup competitors that are sharing the grid with LMP3 Cup this weekend. Andy Roby moves the yellow BMW neatly out of the way and allows our battle for the lead of the race to resume once more. So through Eau Rouge, up towards Lecombe. Here comes Tony Wells, still leading the race. Lecombe up towards then what will be Rivage. And all of the time, while some of the GT Cup competitors are actually at this stage squeezing their way through and ahead. That was very, very close for Graham Davidson there, leading the GT Cup element of the race and was able to work his way through it ahead of CJ Wilson's car, who's now under pressure from Paul Bailey, who's got the run heading up the Kemmel Straight and has the inside line. So through into 5th place goes Paul Bailey, down to 6th goes the American left-handed baseball player. And with our race leader threading his way through traffic, the leading pair are bunched up again, absolutely together are they for the lead of the race. And you can see elsewhere down through the order, the GT Cup competitors are at this stage getting in amongst the LMP3 Cup cars. Race leader safely through Eau Rouge and is now coming under pressure. Paul Bailey in the meantime is still coming under pressure from CJ Wilson whilst they're bundled up behind one of the McLarens that's racing here. And as they then turn their way in towards their source hairpin, Paul Bailey just ahead at the wheel of the horsepower racing car, the second of the two United Autosports cars, a little unsettled on the exit of the corner over the curbs, loses CJ Wilson a little bit of time, still within touching distance as they head through Eau Rouge and then once more onto the Kemmel Straight. So up towards Lecombe they come, and is this CJ Wilson's opportunity? He has a quick look at the inside, he's on the brakes. Paul Bailey will not turn into the corner, so through he goes, having lost the place a lap or so ago. The American driver goes back through ahead of the Brit once more. Here is the battle for the lead, and there is no let up in the pressure for Tony Wells. Alistair McKay hugely keen to try and turn the tables on yesterday's result when himself and Colin Noble finished 3rd on the podium. Of course, it was a win for Tony Wells and Matt Bell, and they'd like, ideally, to do the double. There's more traffic to deal with as they head up towards Les Sources hairpin. That will be Brent Millage at the wheel of his Spy Motorsport Ginetta that's about to be lapped by the leading LMP3 car. So through sides, Tony Wells, followed shortly thereafter by Alistair McKay, down towards Eau Rouge yet again, flat out through Eau Rouge in these cars and onto the Kemmel Straight. And this could be the opportunity here for Alistair McKay as they head on the Kemmel Straight up towards Lecombe. He's sitting in the slipstream of the race leader. Is he going to be close enough? Let's have a look onto the brakes in towards Lecombe. No, wasn't quite close enough there, so order remains the same. As peeling off and into the pit lane goes CJ Wilson to hand the car over to Andrew Evans. So the pit window is open here, race 2 of the weekend at Spa. The race leaders go through, they've worked their way through the traffic, and it looks as though that is what Scott Mansell in 3rd place is going to have to do now as he works his way through Fania. Up towards the end of the lap comes Tony Wells, still under pressure from Alistair McKay. We're either going to pit this time through. No, they both remain out for another lap. So over the start finish cell they'll go. Tony Wells, yesterday's race winner, on course for victory number 3 of the season if he can hang on to the place. He's got the 3 times winning car of Alistair McKay, who shares that car with Colin Noble sitting right behind him. So down through Eau Rouge again, they thread their way. As they then start to head onto the Kemmel Straight, is Alistair McKay close enough? I would suggest not, as they head up to Lecombe this time through. So it's still Tony Wells from Alistair McKay 1st and 2nd. Still got about 4 or 5 car lengths at the most between the pair of them. Lock brakes from Paul Bailey, who spins his horsepower racing machine. I think he was trying to avoid contact potentially there with the tail end of the McLaren, but he's spun through 180 degrees. He's got the engine fired back into life. He now just needs to wait for a gap in the traffic. Through goes the Lamborghini of Jake Rattenbury, and through goes Andrew Evans at the wheel of the number 2 United Autosports car. Of course, he's just taken over. So back into the race goes Paul Bailey. No harm done, albeit there might be some flat spots on those Pirelli tyres, as Andrew Evans now behind the wheel of the number 2 United Autosports car is getting on with his stint, having just recently taken over that car. Paul Bailey safely back in. Here come the race leaders, still very much together. Tony Wells under enormous pressure from Alistair McKay, neither opting to pit this time through, and Alistair McKay has a good run here, heading up to La Source, and it's through. He picked the pocket of Tony Wells at La Source hairpin and has gone through the Scotsman to take up the lead of the race. So it's Tony Wells, yesterday's race winner, now down into 2nd position. There's also traffic that they're having to squeeze their way through, and that is playing into the hands of the new race leader, Alistair McKay, who's opened up a bit of a gap now between himself and Tony Wells, who didn't have as good a run through the traffic. Tony Wells again having to deal with one of the BMWs, that'll be Tom Webb's BMW, and opts to come into the pits this time through. So the race leader is into the pit lane here at Spa. Let's hear from Tony Wells, who's in the pit lane.
The start went perfectly well. Got a good reaction to the start and good braking into the source, and it was very helpful that other people were battling behind, so I had nobody behind me going into a rouge, and it was all pretty calm. And then sort of settled into a rhythm, and obviously Alistair eventually got past Richard. But we had some tyre pressure problems and car just had too much oversteer, and I just didn't have the nice balance that we had yesterday. And then I was struggling with braking a little bit, but I think it was a bit of a schoolboy error to be too wide into La Source to lose the lead. So that was just my fault. I could have held on to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. Didn't get the best start. Richard Dean kept me into the source and outbraked himself, so had to make some room for him to drop back to third. But reeled Tony in for a stint and managed to pass him on the last lap of my stint and get us up to first and pull out a good lap in our in lap. And Colin's now in the lead, so quite happy with that.
I got a decent start, and thankfully Alistair made enough room. I was maybe a little bit optimistic into the first corner, and I certainly needed some help from him for us to give us enough room to go side by side. But he's very experienced, and he gave me the room, so we came out all cleanly. And yeah, it was good race. I enjoyed it.
Join us for more from Spa after the break. Welcome back to the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup from Spa, with race leader Colin Noble working his way up towards Les Combes once more, having recently taken over the car from Alistair McKay, a car which took the lead just prior to the pit stop window from this car here. It was in the hands of Tony Wells. It won yesterday. It's now in the hands of Matt Bell and is circulating in what is second position. You can see the gap between the pair of them. It's just slowly increasing as well. So through goes race leader. There goes Matt Bell in second position. There's also traffic, of course, that they need to deal with. So out of Radion and up towards the braking area for Les Combes comes our second place car in the hands of Matt Bell. Looks as though he's lost a little bit more time through the traffic there and is just starting to drop away ever more at this stage. This is the car that's in third position. This is Jack Butel, who shares the car this weekend with Scott Mansell. That is currently in third place. And this is the second of the two United Autosports cars, the American pairing. Andrew Evans behind the wheel of the car. He's taken it over from CJ Wilson. The two of them were partnered together at Brands Hatch and had a mixed fortunes over the course of the weekend. They're going well here at Spa. So back over the start-finish line comes our third place car. Jack Butel at the wheel of the Speedworks prepared machine. And back into the pits. This is Andrew Evans coming back into the pits again. So it was in the pits a few laps ago. It's back in the pits now. That is going to drop it down through the order, whilst our race leader is starting to pull away all of the time here. Up towards La Source comes Colin Noble, working his way through the GT Cup traffic, which shares the grid with the LMP3 Cup this weekend in Belgium. Having safely negotiated the Marcos, he presses on downhill towards Eau Rouge once more. As through to the completion of the lap goes what is the third place car in the hands of Jack Butel. Raced in single-seaters last year, partnered up with Scott Mansell, Euroboss champion from 2004 over the course of this weekend. Jack thoroughly enjoying Spa-Francorchamps, really starting to hound that Speedworks machine through the corners. So he works his way downhill through the daunting left and right flicks at Eau Rouge and then up towards Radion. Through he goes as the race leader is already starting to come through the chicane to chalk another lap into the book. Safely leading is Colin Noble. Himself and Alistair McKay, if they hang on where they are, that would be their fourth victory of the season so far. At the moment, it doesn't look as though Carnival 103 Matt Bell can do a great deal about the pace of Colin Noble. Matt's no slouch at all. He's driving as hard as he possibly can, but Colin Noble at this stage of the race just seems to have the upper hand. Here is Sarah Moore at the wheel of car number 126. This is the Topworth prepared car that she shares with Richard Dean at this stage. And there is Andy Schultz, who is charging behind. So Sarah Moore in fourth, Andy Schultz in fifth position. But the gap is coming down between those two. And it certainly looks though Andy Schultz may well catch that car before too much longer. Colin Noble still pressing on. New fastest lap of the race for Colin Noble. That's why the advantage is growing between himself and Matt Bell. So all of the time, Colin hounding the Ligier around the circuit, and you can definitely see, yeah, the gap is closing of Andy Schultz at the wheel of the horsepower racing machine, car number 128, the black car with its yellow flash on the air intake, really starting to close in on Sarah Moore. So this is the fight that is forming now for fourth and fifth positions. Still a bit more work to do from Andy Schultz, but he can see his target ahead. He's also well aware that there's traffic that he's going to need to deal with. He's dealt with the traffic through what is Fagnes they go. And then it certainly looks as though as they head up towards the conclusion of the lap. Yeah, the gap is absolutely down to its minimum now, and it's surely only a matter of time before Andy Schultz is in a position to try and attack, to try and squeeze his way through up into 4th position. Can't quite do it through La Source, can't do it through Eau Rouge Corner, so it may well be up at the Com will be his best opportunity. Through the traffic goes Matt Bell at his Lamborghini Huracan that he's just managed to squeeze his way through and put a lap on. If anything, he's managing to still hang on to Colin Noble, despite Colin Noble having posted the fastest lap. He's not disappearing up the road as such, so Matt Bell trying hard, but Colin Noble looking to try and keep a stranglehold on the championship standings. And Andy Schultz has gone through. I thought it was just a matter of time, so Andy Schultz at the wheel of the horsepower racing car has gone through and ahead of the yellow and white car in the hands of Sarah Moore, car number 126. So Sarah Moore down into what is 5th position, Andy Schultz up into 4th, whilst all of the time this car here still continues to lead. Through the chicane they go. There goes Matt Bell in 2nd position. Still on the same straight at the same time, because up towards La Source comes our race leader. Still, of course, with traffic to deal with. It will be the BMW E46 of Tom Webb that will be the next of the cars that Matt Bell will need to try and work his way past. And he should do that, thankfully, on the run down in towards what is Eau Rouge Corner. More traffic having been dealt with by our race leader as he comes up towards La Source. And you can see through the traffic, neither 1st or 2nd place particularly gaining an advantage, so it just looks as though this stage of the race it's settled down a little bit. Matt Bell using all of the curbs, bouncing his way out of the corner. Up towards Fagna, they work their way. Still with Colin Noble leading from Matt Bell. Still, Matt Bell just not frustratingly able to close what is still not a huge deficit that exists between himself and Colin Noble, but time is running out in reality, because Colin Noble heads over the start-finish line, chalks another lap into the book, and is certainly looking good, potentially here for victory number 4 of the season for himself and Alistair McCaig. They saw their championship advantage just reduced yesterday as a result of a win for Tony Wells and Matt Bell. Well, it looks as though they're going to reassert themselves back into the strong position of leading the championship and probably come away from Spa having just briefly extended their lead. Cars bouncing over the curbs on the way out of Malmedy. Up towards La Source yet again. And through goes now Colin Noble. Another lap completed, another lap on which the gap between himself and Matt Bell has remained pretty much constant. So having done the hard work to build the advantage, he's just maintaining it. 3rd place, still working his way through the traffic, is Jack Butel. Squabble amongst the GT Cup competitors continue as well around the circuit, so sort of 2 races for the price of 1 here at Spa. GT Cup sharing the grid with LMP3 Cup, and of course the GT Cup cars are still squabbling away. They need to be aware in their mirrors that the race leader is closing up behind them, but the checkered flag is going to be ready this time through for Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig. It is going to be 4 wins so far this season for the pairing of Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig. They'll be delighted with that. It's going to be Tony Wells and Matt Bell in 2nd place. It should be this car here in 3rd place. Yeah, Jack Butel and Scott Mansell on his debut in LMP3 Cup come through and finishes in 3rd position. A strong performance from them at the wheel of the Speedworks prepared car. And this car here, Paul Bailey and Andy Schultz. Andy Schultz, having done a lot of hard work in the latter stages, will come through and finish in 4th position. A fantastic stint from Andy Schultz, closing down the car ahead of Sarah Moore and squeezing his way through. Confirmation of the results then, it's the 4th win of the season for Alistair McCaig and Colin Noble. 2nd place for Tony Wells and Matt Bell, and 3rd place goes the way of Scott Mansell, making his debut in the championship, and Jack Butel. 4th place for Paul Bailey and Andy Schultz in the horsepower racing with GCAT machine. 5th place to Richard Dean and Sarah Moore, and the 2nd of the 2 United Autosports cars of CJ Wilson and Andrew Evans complete the top 6. Non-starting, unfortunately, the number 23 car of Jason Rishover and Jamie Spence did not make race 2.
It was a great race, another close fought battle with United Autosports, but dropped to 3rd at the start. Richard Dean had a bit of a moment going into the source and had to avoid him, but reeled Tony in and passed him on my in lap and managed to drive the lap of my race to gap him before the pit stop, and Colin had a clean run to the flag.
Colin, So Alistair did all the hard work there, you just had to bring it home by the sound of it.
Yeah, definitely. I was doing a great first stint. It was fastest. It kept setting purple sector, so it was great. Brilliant for me watching on, just kept on closing the gap before he shot him in the matter of laps, and yeah, he made a really good move into turn one, which I was pleased to see just before pit window. So yeah, he handed it over to him in a great position, and I just managed to open the gap up in the first few laps, and then managed the gap to the end.
The start went really well. I got a very clean run into La Source, picked the braking point, got out way into a rouge. Lots of excitement in the mirrors, so it was good. And then I really sort of built a gap, and it was very helpful that Richard was in front of Alistair and the guys. So, and then when Alistair got past, I started to push, and as soon as I pushed, I locked up into the bus stop, and that lost a lot of the lead I already built up. So, but we basically the car we didn't react to the change. And the car was sort of 2 seconds off what it was yesterday. I meant to get the right mirror reset slightly down, and I forgot to do it. And I missed that Alistair was down the inside of me into the source, and so a bit of a schoolboy error.
So yeah, we went out behind Colin. They seemed to gain a fraction of us in the pit stop as well, just a little bit. But once we got out there, at the start of the stint, I was able to sort of catch him in clear air, and then they were getting traffic and kind of yo-yo. And then towards the end of the stint, when the traffic started to clear up a little bit more, we just didn't have the pace that we had yesterday, and they did. So they were, rather than yesterday where we were considerably quicker, and they just had a little bit on us in that final phase of the race. So I think ultimately we finished about the same as where we went out in the pits, and as I say, it was a bit of a yo-yo effect through traffic through the whole stint. I was pushing as hard as I could. The track seemed to be quite different today, so I had quite a different feeling in the car compared to yesterday. So, you know, really pushed as hard as I could, but just couldn't reel them in, and we had to settle second on this occasion.
Chaps, well, second, third place of the weekend. You must be liking this place, huh?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Obviously it's the first time that I drove the car and first time that Jack's been here, but he's adapted really well, and 2/3 from the one race weekend is just fantastic.
Jack, you did the second stint. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, no, the second stint was good. All I had to do was just bring it home. We had enough of a gap. We had a slight problem in the pits, but that was not an issue. All I had to do was, when I was out, was just maintain the pace, and we did it and brought home a third.
Let's have a look at the championship standings, leaving Spa with a slight increase in their championship lead as a result of victory number 4 of the season. It's Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig. Second is the United Autosports car of Tony Wells and Matt Bell. And somewhere adrift in third place, that's where we see Richard Dean and Sarah Moore in the standings. The Speedworks car, Jack Butel, joined by Scott Mansell, is 4th, ahead of absentees from Spa-Francorchamps, Mike Newbold and Tom Randall, who are there in 5th. And up to 6th now comes the horsepower racing with GCAP car of Paul Bailey and Andy Schultz. That's all from Spa. Join us next time out at Silverstone.